guys, it's Lori Stancil, and welcome to another episode of A Better You. And this is a series that is dedicated to helping you to become the best version of yourself. And at the time of this airing, we are in a pandemic. So I'm pretty sure we're all spending a little bit of extra time reflecting and taking inventory on where we are in our emotions, where we are in our spirit. But today we're going to talk about where we are with our finances. And we are going to be joined by a very dear friend and sister in the Lord, Alaya Linton. What I love about Alaya is she's raw, but she's not rude. She's authentic, but she's not arrogant. And I just love that about her spirit. You'll hear her spirit as she's talking, and you'll see that she genuinely cares about people, not just their financial health, but about their whole being. She really does care. So Alaya Linton is a financial coach and a writer and a blogger, and she has been doing this for quite a bit of time now. And like I said before, this is her passion, and she's driven to help people to succeed. So welcome, Alaya, to A Better You.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for having me. And let me just say, I'm going to add not rude to a list of attributes that I aspire to. I have this list and I'm going to add not rude to it. Let me maintain.
Well, you're not rude to
rude.
me.
Good.
So Alaya, tell the audience how you got started in your journey to becoming a financial coach.
Sure. Yeah. So I have the pleasure now of working with one-on-one with, women and couples and individuals in their own finances. But that path came about through my own journey of messing up royally with money and then learning how to clean things up. So I went on a journey, a very intense journey, from being just overwhelmed, saddled with debt, hopeless about my financial future, went from that to discovering that, you know what, there's a different way to live. I don't have to be stuck in this forever. And so I went on a journey to cleaning things up. And that journey just ignited a passion for teaching other people that they can do the same things. Because like me, so many people grew up not knowing about money, not learning about money. And as a result, we go and we just kind of wing it. And so I'm just so passionate about walking alongside people and showing them that you don't have to be hopeless. You don't have to be overwhelmed. You can be intentional about your finances.
And something just as little, the word hope is it's 4 letters, but it's so powerful because, when a person sees someone like yourself that has gone through this journey and come out and you're doing well, it gives them hope. And so that hope is the beginning of the change because
Yes.
you're able to say, okay, I can see a different way. I can see a better way. And so I love the name of your company, Hope and Sense, because it really is hope and sense. You're giving people the first thing is hope. You can come out of this. You can have financial help. And then sense, you have to have the ability to make sense of your sense. And I love that. I love the name of your company. So let's move into some questions and let's talk about, what does financial health mean? What does that term mean?
Sure. Well, I believe that financial health means different things depending on who you are. So just like physical health, there's not just one standard of physical health. We all can't weigh 115 pounds. We all can't just take, intake 1,500 calories a day. Financial health is going to depend on many things, just like physical health. So it's an individual state for you. And so I encourage people to spend some time identifying and defining what financial health means to them individually. It doesn't mean, of course, there are some general markers, living within your means, saving money, we kind of all know some of those basic things, but, does that mean having a certain amount of money in the bank for you? Does it mean owning a home? Not everyone wants to be a homeowner. Does it mean home ownership for you? Does it mean setting up the next generation? So identifying what it means for you specifically.
I love that answer, because I think that what you're saying is that there's no carbon copy here.
Right.
Just like we are individuals, we have individual fingerprints. Our needs are different, our experiences are different. What God has called us to do in life is varied. So we have to think along those lines. So what I'm hearing you say is that people have to take the time to define for themselves and for their family what financial health is going to look like for them. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And like I said, there are obviously are some common things. And I'm just going to correlate it again to physical health. We know that, we can't eat a pound of bacon, every day, unfortunately.
Oh,
Because
that's
if we could, I would
okay.
be there. So there are some obviously basic things,
Yes. Yeah.
We know we need to spend less than we have coming in. We know we need to set aside money for saving and investing. We need to be able to support ourselves in retirement. So there are some common things, but again, we need to drill down. And you nailed it on the head when you said God called us to do different things. One of the main things that I think sheds light on what financial health means for you is your why, your quote, your why. We all have a why. And I talk to people about their money why. So, we have a big why, but we also have a financial why, or we could call it your money purpose. And so I think that we don't necessarily think about that. And so if we pause and think about, we're all given a portion to manage. So what are we supposed to do with that? What is our financial why? Personally, I know that mine is to change the financial legacy that's passed down in my family, to just shift what it's been before my generation and shift it, after. So what is your money why? And let that kind of guide what financial health means for you.
I absolutely agree. I know for me, I had to change the way I looked at money. And what I had to understand was it's not money, it's the love of money. It's that need that drives us to do things that are awful, that are dishonoring to people, to ourselves, to society. But money itself is a tool. And I had to kind of learn that, and I had to change my thinking around that. So that leads me to my next question. Now that we're talking about defining what financial health is for ourselves, and coming to terms with what that looks like for our needs and based on what we're doing, what are some of the steps we can take to will lead us to financial health?
Sure. So again, that's the number one, is to pause and identify it. And then, within identifying it, your money purpose, one thing I want to touch on is your values. I teach a lot about value-based money management. And what that means is letting what's important to you in life kind of guide how you manage your money. Because if we don't identify that, very easily we could be spending our money and managing it in a way that's at odds with what we value. So, do you value travel? Do you value family? What are those things? If you value that, but you looked at your bank account, do you see Wendy's, or do you see, so take a moment to identify that. And then in terms of, the steps, I like to say there's two parts to managing money. There's the behind the scenes things, and then there's the practical steps.
Okay.
So, we need to address both. So, some steps would be identifying maybe habits and behaviors that are preventing you from, reaching your goals and your dreams. As a financial coach, I deal with habits and behaviors maybe more than I deal with numbers, because those are so powerful. So again, there's the behind the scenes things, habits. What habits do I need to break? What positive habits do I need to implement?
Mm.
kind of spend some time focusing on that, and then taking your why and drilling it down to specific goals. Okay, so if travel is important to me, if I'm, let's say someone's why is to help others, and that means international trips or whatever. Okay, then drill that down to a specific goal. um, am I taking 2 trips a year? Am I taking 1 trip 3 years from now? Okay, well, here's that goal. Put timing on it,
Mhm.
and then break it down to what you need to do, every year until then, every month until then, every week until then, daily. Drill those goals down to the specific action steps that you need to meet them.
So it sounds like to me a person has to have some patience.
Oh yes,
Sounds
patience.
like that.
And let me tell you, that's hard.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
At the beginning of my journey, so I had, when I finally faced my fears, I had $74,000 of debt. And when I decided, and, was at the beginning of the journey and wanted to pay it off, I was so impatient. And I had to calm myself down and remind myself that it took me years to accumulate that,
True.
it's not going to disappear overnight. And impatience can work for you or it can work against you. And so I say, take that impatience and turn it into passion, turn it into intensity.
Mm.
Don't be impatient, be intense.
Mm.
And so, there's a difference, because when we're impatient, maybe we can make we can make some
Decision.
regrettable choices, because all right, well,
Yeah.
maybe I will try to make it go overnight by going to Foxwoods or whatever, so we can we can make some regrettable decisions. So be intense, not impatient.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, be intense, and also I think redirecting that energy, start asking yourself questions like, why am I so impatient right now?
Yeah.
What is it that I'm trying to hurry along? Or what is it that I don't like that I'm feeling? Sometimes it
Mm.
that making all these changes puts you in a comfort, takes you out of your comfort zone and makes you very uncomfortable. And so
Mm.
at first you've got that energy of, oh, I'm so excited, this is
Yeah.
great, I'm going to be debt free. And then that's the honeymoon stage, right? Then when
You're
things
in it.
start really getting hard, you're like, okay, I don't like
Yeah.
how this is feeling right now. And so that's where you kind of have to have that self control to say, like you said, remind yourself, what is my why? Why
Yeah.
am I doing this? And how can I go from being impatient to being intense?
Yes.
Love that. I absolutely love that.
Beginning sometimes is easier than maintaining, because yes, there's that energy, there's that excitement, and then whoa, we're in the middle of it. What's going on? And so if someone is in the middle of already taking steps, I encourage them to identify some things to help them stay motivated. So keeping the why at the forefront is so crucial. But some other things would be, um, break it down. So like we said, I said already, break your goals down. Um, Literally make some milestones. So when I was paying off our debt, 74,000, we planned celebrations along the way.
Oh, I love
So when we paid off all of our car debt, we had a little celebration. When we paid off our credit card, we were like, we're credit card debt free. And like we celebrated that. So have some milestones, have some celebrations along the way, and then have a planned celebration at the end, that you can look forward to.
Are there some other things that could be holding people back financially? So the impatience could cause us to sabotage our
Yes.
efforts. But what are some of the other things that could be holding us back financially?
Sure. So again, there's so many things working behind the scenes. So your habits are so powerful. Um, you know, procrastination is definitely one. And that's one that I 100% relate to, unfortunately, still do to this day. I haven't mastered that. But, that's a common one. And a cousin to that one, or a brother, whatever the expression is what is it? Like, if you get caught up with analysis paralysis.
Oh, okay.
So
Overthinking.
overthinking, and then you end up doing nothing because
Yeah.
so those are some common ones. Comparing ourselves with others, trying to keep up with the Joneses, that, my dear, will keep you broke day in, day out, because the Joneses are broke. So keeping up with them means you will be broke too.
Hashtag the Joneses are broke.
Joneses are broke. They look good, but they have no money.
Yeah.
So don't, don't try to keep up with them. Financial bullies. This is one sometimes, and I've totally coined this term, but what's that?
Never heard that before.
Yeah, so sometimes we have financial bullies, and those are people in our lives. Unfortunately, they can be in your house. They're the people in your lives that put their own needs ahead of your financial needs, your financial status. So it could be the mother-in-law who wants you to, go on a family trip, even though she knows you can't afford it. But then she guilts you into doing it.
Wow.
Or, come out shopping with me. Oh, it's fine. Knowing very well that it's not the best thing for you. So we have those in our lives, and like, they could be in our family. So there's, this is an important thing too, is to recognize maybe some of those stumbling blocks for yourself, so you can overcome them, like going back to the procrastination and, any of the habits. I think sometimes the key to breaking it is stating what is at stake.
Okay.
So if I continue to procrastinate on this financial task, X could happen. So just stating out loud, what potentially could be at stake could be what helps you break through.
Let's talk a little bit about that financial bully, because that is fascinating to me. And I never thought about it that way, but it really is. It's like this peer pressure.
Yes.
It's like adult peer pressure. And it's like, these are people that mean something to me. These are people whose opinions I value. And so how do I stand up to them and say, I understand what you're saying, but this, based on what I've planned out for myself and based on my financial goals and my needs, I can't do that right now. And that's not easy to do.
Not at all, especially if there was a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And you are making a shift. I just had this conversation actually with a client who had a certain way of doing, a certain way of giving, and when you do that, you set up expectations to those around you, unbeknownst to everybody. You set up expectations, and it's not aware until there's a shift, there's a change, and it's like, whoa, what is going on? So she, decided to make some changes, and in order to meet her goals, then what she would normally do in terms of giving was going to look a little different. And it was, like, what is going on? And that can be so hurtful. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, when it's the people you know and love and you care about their opinion, that can be painful.
Exactly. That kind of leads to a perfect segue into the next question. I guess sometimes it requires maybe a little bit of foresight. Like, what could you do in light of just this whole bullying thing, or anything, procrastination, overthinking? What can you do to ensure that those things don't stop you? What can you do, or what can you put in place, I should say, that will help you to face those obstacles successfully, overcome them, and keep moving forward?
So it all boils down to being proactive and intentional. So I think one of the most important things you can do is get out ahead and share. So if you are shifting something, go ahead and share it. You don't have to shout it from the mountaintops, and not everyone is going to support you, because the minute you start changing, the minute you start changing, you know, you're kind of holding up a mirror to other people, and they might not like what they see and then try to discourage you. So that, you know, but share it with the people that matter,
Okay.
that are important to you, that are close to you, that need to know.
Mhm.
You know, when I was going through it, and you know, when I say don't shout it from the mountaintops, it's because I probably blabbed it a little too much, was a little overzealous, and so I think, you know, there's a middle ground.
Okay.
You know, if you were on a journey to paying off or to losing 50 pounds, you wouldn't hide that.
Right.
You would share it with people, you know, like, okay, don't invite me to McDonald's, please. I'm trying to lose 50 pounds. Like,
Yeah.
you would share it. So same thing with money. And um, we shy away from, you know, talking about money. You know, we're more willing to talk about politics and sex than we are money. But it is so important to then let the people around you know what you're doing. And like you said, getting out ahead of it. You know, going back to the example of, if your family may, you know, kind of freak out because you're making some changes,
Yeah.
go ahead and say it ahead of time. You know, hey, I'm on this journey this Christmas. I'm sorry, I can't join you in our $1,000 gift giving. You know, this this Christmas is going to look a little different from me, and I'm telling you now in July. You know, so so
Yeah.
you know, getting out ahead. Another big thing is community. So just if you're working out, you're going to work out, you know, longer with a gym buddy. So I like to encourage people to get a money buddy, get someone who you can just you know, accountability partner, someone you can check in. You know, surround yourself with like-minded people, find community, you know, get yourself around. You want it to be a part of your everyday language, everyday conversation. You want it to be a part of your environment. Educating yourself, you know, so all of those things.
So, I mean, you really have to be fully committed to this. You know,
Absolutely.
it can't just be a head thing. It can't be like, oh, I have this great idea. I'm going to get out of debt. And it just be in theory. Like, you really have to practice this every single day in order to have success. That's what it sounds like.
Commitment is so key. And in fact, when I'm when I am um, interviewing potential clients, I literally ask, how committed are you to the process? Because if you're not committed, then when things get hard, when you have to start making choices, you're likely to give up. Before I paid off my debt fully, I paid off my debt, and it went right back up
Right.
because I wasn't committed. I paid down my credit cards,
Okay.
but it was just, you know, okay, I'm going to pay this down. I wasn't committed to keeping it off. I wasn't committed to being debt free. And so I was, you know, it's very easy for me to rack some of that credit card debt right back up. So commitment is key. You have to keep, just like you know, a marathoner.
Mhm.
You know, you think marathoners don't want to quit? Yes, I'm sure. You know, I
Goodness.
give props to people
Yeah.
who run marathons, because
Yeah.
by mile two, I'd probably be like, all right, I'm good, I'm done.
I don't have to win.
Exactly. So, you know, you're gonna need to keep that big picture goal in mind,
Yeah.
stay committed to running, you know, the entire journey, and let that be the thing that keeps you going.
Yeah. And I think the support network helps you with that. You know, because we all have those times where we're like, oh, this is just not working. I'm tired. Or I just want that bag. I want that bag. Or I want to
Yeah.
go on that vacation. Or I want, you know, I want, or my kids are saying, how come we can't do this? Or how come we can't, you know,
Yeah.
you get that too. And they don't quite understand the whole depth of what you're trying to do and why. So it's very easy to get discouraged. And so having that support network will help you when you're on the ledge. It'll help you back off of that ledge,
Absolutely.
you know. And that kind of brings me to what I want to ask next, because right now a lot of people are feeling like they're on the ledge. We are right now currently walking through an epidemic, and so we're being forced to change. Okay, so and now we're in transition. We're trying to adapt to that change. How can a person look at their financial matters differently in light of all of this that's going on? Some people may have lost their job, or maybe they're not working as many hours as they were working before. school, college debt, all of those things
Yeah.
start to change everything.
Yeah.
So how do you approach that differently now?
Sure. Yeah, this is such an interesting time. And even if you haven't already been, if your income hasn't been directly impacted, you're still impacted. Like our stability has been shaken up.
Absolutely.
Um, and so to that, I say this is a perfect time to assess and reassess your financial priorities, your life priorities. This is a perfect time. And if you just lost your job or your income is decimated, you might be like, what? I'm just surviving. I'm trying to hold on. But I think, and I know because in the recession of '09, I was impacted financially. And so it's a very similar time right now. Even rainy seasons, or not even, rainy seasons produce growth.
Mm,
We know that.
good. That's good.
And so take stock of what's going on. If your income was slashed, eliminated, reduced, whatever, okay, how can I take that? How can I assess that and think about moving forward? I know a lot of people, for small business owners whose products maybe aren't relevant right now, they've had to pivot, but they're like grabbing this, they're seizing this, and they're okay, I can shift to this.
Yeah.
And that's not always easy. It's not always easy when you're scared, when you're wondering, oh my goodness, how am I going to pay the mortgage? That's not always easy. But when our backs are up against the wall, sometimes, it's when a door is closed, sometimes that's good because, all right, let me look at what's in front of me. Let me now look at my options. When we started our journey, we were forced into it. All of our credit cards were canceled on us.
Okay.
And this was in the last recession when companies were like, you're a risk. We're slashing your limit.
Okay.
We lost all of our abilities to continue living beyond our means. Like we literally had no options. We were putting gas and groceries and every essentials on our credit cards, but we lost that opportunity. And that forced us to, okay, we can't do that anymore. We don't have that option. We can't go out and get more credit.
Yeah.
We have what we have. We have to make what's coming out less than what's coming in. And so we were forced. So right now, I encourage people to ask themselves, okay, um, what am I doing? Am I on a path financially that I want to be on?
Okay.
Is the current career what I'm doing, is this really what I want to be doing? I'm working, but I really want to be home with the kids and I've really enjoyed these last 2 months. Okay, what can I do? What can I do? And so seize this opportunity to really assess and reassess where you're headed financially and in life. But the most important thing I would encourage people to do is to take the steps to shore up your own personal economy.
Okay.
We are impacted, obviously, by our local economy, the national economy, the global economy, but the most important economy is the one in your own household. You are impacted by that the most, and that's the one that you can affect the most directly. So what does it take to shore up your own personal economy? If you're living paycheck to paycheck, do you need to make it a priority to break that cycle? Do you need to reduce your expenses? If this whole thing, if you didn't lose your job, but if you did, you would, be swimming up a creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
Do you need to stock up your emergency fund? We know that most Americans cannot handle $1,000 emergency without going into debt. So, and a lot of us learned that, firsthand right now. So, is that something you need to do? Are there financial tasks that you've been putting off that have you been meaning to open up a 401k? Have you been meaning to increase your contributions? Have you been meaning to, whatever, do this? So what specifically, income, if your income is not 100% stable, okay, maybe I need to look at having multiple streams of income, different avenue of making money, so that if my full-time job goes belly up, I'm okay. So what specifically do you need to do to shore up your own personal economy? Identify those things and take those steps.
I love what you're saying because, again, it goes back to changing how you look at money, changing how you look at what you use it for. And I
Yes.
love how you're giving people steps on what they can do, that the thing in the area that they can control.
Yes.
That you can control your paycheck for the most part. Okay.
Right.
You know,
Right.
for the most part. So what can you do that's within your power to help you along that situation? Now,
Absolutely.
are there any things that we should avoid doing around now, that we should pull back with caution and say, maybe I shouldn't be doing that right in this season?
So I think the big thing, and this is kind of like a overarching theme, is avoid making any emotional financial decisions.
Okay.
And right now we're in one big state of heightened emotions, right? We are scared, we're worried, we're
Yeah.
unsure.
Yeah.
Emotions are at an all-time high right now. But any financial decision made as a result of emotion usually is not a good one. So, one of the first things people are like, they're checking their, 401k, balance or other investment accounts. And it's like, freaking out, unless you were, knocking on retirement's door and you were planning on, withdrawing money. I would caution you against making any rash changes as a result of just being fearful. Have the conversation with the financial professionals in your life. If you were close to retirement, then absolutely you're going to have to come up with a game plan, but you want to make your decisions based on facts, based on plans and goals and timelines, not based on emotion. And that goes from big decisions like retirement to small decisions. Yesterday, I was online and this ad popped up, and I'm like, oh, that's great, and I loaded up my cart, and then I just let it sit overnight. And guess what? I didn't buy it.
That's so
So, so big decisions to small decisions, you avoid making emotional decisions right now, because right now it's temporary. We don't know how long it's going to last. And yes, there's going to be impact for some time, but your choices, the decisions that you make right now, are going to continue to impact you for a long time. So be careful about those decisions. Um, you know,
absolutely.
just the emotions, see what you can do to replace. If you're tempted to impulse buy because you're bored, or because it's just an activity for you, see what you can replace that with. Go for a walk, go do something else and get off of the computer.
Don't read.
Don't eat. Yeah.
Don't read. Because that's a problem too.
Yes. Go hand in hand.
Exactly. I think, being in touch with your emotions. Why am I feeling this way? And I think that, for me at least, I can speak for myself and the people that I'm helping and working with. This time period has forced many people to deal with those feelings and deal with those emotions that they were maybe numbing through emotional spending, emotional eating, going on vacations, or, always busy. So you don't have to stop and think. And so now we're finding ourselves in this place where we're confronted not only with the pandemic, not only with the subsequent change, but what that's producing and magnifying in us, and how
Yes.
do we handle that. And I love how you're giving people practical steps on how you can holistically look at financial health. And it's not so much about how much money you have in your bank account per se, but it's about how are we getting there?
Yeah,
because like you said, maintaining can be harder because you don't have that zeal that you had in the beginning. But if you take your time to deal with the emotions associated with your actions, then maintaining becomes easier because now you have the tools that you
absolutely.
learned along the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think extending grace to yourself during this time too is so key. So, expect to feel emotional.
Mm.
And to your point, be in touch with it, but also be, give yourself grace. Like, yeah, this instability is going to cause us to maybe one day wake up and, feel irrationally terrified. And the next day we're okay. What's wrong with me? Well, like this is going on. So,
Right.
um, extend yourself grace,
Absolutely. Embrace the grace.
embrace the grace. Yeah.
So
And
what
if you mess up, if you do buy something by accident or
whatever,
not
yeah.
by accident, but you buy something, okay, all right, well, assess, you know what, I was really tired. I just got in a fight with, hubby or whatever, and that led to that. Okay, so I'm going to be aware of those conditions the next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Learning, and not allowing yourself to stay condemned over something, but just saying, okay, you know what? I missed it. How can I learn from this? And how can I be a better me, a better
Yes.
version of myself? How can
Yes.
I move forward and not let these mistakes keep me stuck in the past?
Stuck in the past.
Yeah, and a
Absolutely.
lot of times we do get because we have that we put unrealistic expectations on ourselves, right? So now we're like, okay, wait a minute, was that even a realistic expectation to begin with? You have to start assessing. A lot of assessing, I think, going
Yes.
on right now.
Prioritize progress. And I love that you have that the series is titled A Better You, because it is about being better than you were, a week ago financially, being better than you were a year ago. Like, okay, maybe I'm not where I want to be, but I'm better than I was a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. So yeah, prioritizing progress and not perfection.
And realizing that you have to be a lifelong learner.
Yes.
And so that's why I like the title A Better You. That's what jumped out at me was everyone can take their next step.
Next. Absolutely.
Everyone. I don't
Yeah.
care who you are. There's always something to learn. There's always something to adapt. There's always a way you can become better, more skilled. And
Yep.
so it encourages people to keep living this life of wonder and
Yes.
of growth. Wouldn't
Yeah.
you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What would you say to someone, especially now, people who are maybe they were already dealing with a crisis and now they're dealing with this too, and their existing crisis. And
Mhm.
maybe they've tried to do the financial thing and it just didn't work. What do you say to them that they're like, you know what, I'm just done with this. This is not going to work. I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life, or this is just how it's going to be. What do you say to a person like that to get them to see a different way?
Sure. Well, I can 100% relate to that. And, there's so much packed in there in that one question and that statement actually, because so if they're literally saying some of those things, this is it. I'm just going to be in debt for the rest of my life. Well, guess what? You will be in debt for the rest of your life.
There you go.
Whatever you speak, whatever you think over the situation is going to manifest itself.
Yeah.
And so that is so powerful. And I didn't realize that when I was going through my process. But for all the years that I was saying, oh my goodness, I'm never going to pay this off. The only, like, I remember literally saying the only way for us to pay off our debt is if we won the lottery.
Wow.
And I believe that. I believe like this is it. And I hear it all the time. People who have huge amount of student loans. Oh, I'm just going to have that forever. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, you will.
You
You
will.
will.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the reasons hope is so important to me and why it's in my business name is because hope means your expectations.
Mm.
And so, what expectations do you have over your finances, your career, your life, your family, whatever? What are those expectations? Because whatever you state,
Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
voice, that's what's going to come to be.
Absolutely.
So that would be the first thing, is to kind of change the song you are singing to yourself, because that's so powerful. And your commitment and your resolve, that's what's key. So like I said, when I paid off my credit card debt before, I wasn't resolved that I was going to be done with debt. And so you're resolving yourself to something, either
That's
to
true.
be done or to stay in where you are,
Stay where
stay
you are.
where you are. So be aware of that. What are you committing yourself to? What are you resolving, to do? And then I would say be willing to try both things. Be willing to try something different and something new, because if we want to change, we have to start doing something different.
Yes.
But if you've tried some things in the past, be willing to try it again. Like, just be willing to go all out. If your goal is to pay off your debt, if your goal is to improve your finances, be willing to try everything. Like, I've worked with people, and before I even finish a sentence, it's like, oh no, that's not going to work. Okay, well,
Yeah.
it's not going to work then. It's not going to work.
I'm not going to argue.
I tried that before. It's not going to work. Okay, well, so your commitment and your resolve are going to really be the overarching theme to whatever your actions are. So you could take the same steps that you did 5 years ago, but if your commitment level is different today, then those steps might work.
And that's the key. You're not the same person.
Right.
So it's going to, even though it's the same method, it's going to be employed differently because you're different.
Absolutely.
So, and that I love how you brought that out, because sometimes it's not the method that was wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have
Our mindset, mindset, our thoughts, all of that. Like I said, those behind the scene things, they're like a computer program. They're running.
But as we close, I just wanted to share something that I noticed that you've been doing, and I love it. You've been sharing your devotions on your group page. And so, as we wrap up, I want to talk about how faith has sustained you and help you to break through those feelings of being overwhelmed. Because I can tell, I know you personally, but even if I didn't know you personally, I know from what you share that that's a large integral part of what you do, and it's part of your why. So can we talk a little bit about that? How spirituality can help shape your financial health?
It does on so many levels. I think, number one, understanding that what we have isn't ours. When you are clear on ownership, then that definitely colors your perspective. And my debt-free journey was not just about becoming debt-free, but it was also my tithing journey. Before we started paying off our debt, we squandered 100% of what we had. Occasionally I would give, but we pretty much squandered it all. And as we started taking the steps, God started speaking to myself and my husband, and we knew that, we needed to start giving this. We've been blessed with this amount, but we've been wasting 100%. And so we made the commitment in the middle of our journey that we would start giving. It didn't represent 10%. It wasn't a tithe, but it was a lot more than we had been giving. And it was a sacrificial amount. It was enough that on paper, if we didn't give it, we would have been out of debt faster on paper. And I say on paper because when I look back and paid $74,000 in 2 years, the math almost doesn't make sense. It almost doesn't make sense. And so I believe, we made that commitment. We took a step forward. We started giving. And when we paid off the debt, it was just like, we just knew we're tithers. We're tithers from now on. And I share that because sometimes people are guilty about, not tithing right away. And we're called to be generous givers. Give, just give.
Yeah.
God will work with you. God will work with you. Do something. And so we gave, a lot of people ask, did you tithe while you were paying off your debt? I'm like, well, I didn't, but I wasn't tithing before. So I gave more, and then I gave more. I gave more until I gave more.
Okay.
And I still am on what I call my generosity journey, where I know that I'm called to be even more generous than I am. But the faith piece, I have seen this so many times, that when people start taking steps to manage their money positively, God shows up.
Yes, he does.
He shows up in ways that you could not imagine. And, people have shared with me, oh my goodness, I canceled this expense that, I know I didn't need to, that I didn't need to keep around. And guess what? I got a bonus today. Or, like just these little things that, like, that is God taking one step towards you because you took a step towards him. And so, the faith piece is so important because, if you are attempting to achieve something big, and that God, wants you to manage your finances in a way that honors him, you have to trust that he is going to show up and show off and do the things that only he can do. The path may not be visible. When we started paying off our debt, we were overspending by $2,000 every single month. There wasn't an available penny, much less the 2000. So it wasn't visible at all. We just started taking action. And so, I just encourage people to just trust that if you start doing the right thing, God will 100% show up.
Absolutely. And we're taught that tithing is an act of obedience and giving is an act of worship. And so when you do that, you're giving God permission to miraculously show up and
Yes,
give you the breakthroughs that you could not do on your own.
absolutely.
Supernatural. It goes beyond explanation. You can't even explain it. Like, I don't even know how this happened. It happened,
Absolutely.
because God saw that you honored him and you put him
Absolutely.
first. And it's a principle.
Yeah,
It really is a principle, and it really does work. Is there
absolutely.
anything else you want to leave? Do you want to share with any programs that you're offering, any services that you're providing?
Sure. Just in terms of connecting, I offer one-on-one coaching, and I do workshops and boot camps, to help whip people into shape financially. So that's all available at hopeandsense.com. So yeah, absolutely. You can connect with me there.
This was wonderful. Thank you so, so much. And my prayer and our prayer together is that you will have the hope
Mm.
to keep moving forward, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. As Dr. Miles Monroe says, every crisis has a shelf life. We will get to the end of this thing. So don't act like this is going to take you out. And if you do, it will. And if you don't, it won't. Plan for your reemergence. Plan for the time when you come out, and come out better, come out stronger, come out wiser, so that you can take this and let it be a reset, and you can get a do-over to do things the way you should have done them all along. And if you make a mistake along the way, just get back up and get back in the race and keep trying, because we're all moving, we're all growing, and we're all learning. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you at the next episode. Bye.